That's the beauty of rabbit tobacco, because for me, it is the most magical plant that I've ever seen to help to support mucous membranes throughout the body. It's just a plant with so many sides to it, right? It's literally like what can't you do with rabbit tobacco? The plant that literally saved my life. So I try to tell everybody about it. Everybody needs rabbit tobacco.
Welcome to the Herbs with Rosalee podcast, a show exploring how herbs heal as medicine, as food, and through connecting with the living world around you. But what if one of the most helpful herbs for the lungs is one you've never heard of? Well, rabbit tobacco has a long history of being used for things like bronchitis, lingering coughs, and supporting recovery after serious respiratory illness. Yet, I rarely hear it being talked about in modern herbal spaces. In this episode, I'm joined by Karen Burr to share how this humble plant has earned a reputation for showing up when the lungs really need support, and why so many people who work with it end up wondering, why isn't this more widely known? Well, by the end of this conversation, you'll have a much clearer sense of when to reach for rabbit tobacco and why it might become one of those herbs that you don't want to be without. If you enjoy this episode, please give it a thumbs up so more plant lovers can find us, and be sure to stay tuned until the very end for your herbal tidbit. Karen, welcome to the show.
Hello.
Hello. I've been so looking forward to this. I'm excited to hear your story. I'm excited to hear about your plant. So yeah, super excited to just dive into everything. And let's begin, as we always do, with hearing how the plants have called you onto this path.
Well, it's interesting. I started out as a licensed esthetician, and I felt like I was nothing more than a pimp for a skincare industry. So I wasn't really helping anybody.
Tell me how you really felt, Karen.
Exactly. People just wanted me to sell their products when people were coming to me with some pretty serious skin conditions.
Interesting.
And I just knew that that was never going to be the route that I wanted. So I left. I didn't leave. I went to the Institute of Integrative Nutrition and became a more holistic health practitioner and got really into environmental medicine. And that back then, it was when we didn't really have regenerative farming yet. It was more conventional farming and factory farming, conventional factory or organic, right? So after I graduated, I started going to all the local farmers markets and stalking every local farmer I could find, saying, I'm this new grad and I want to teach everybody about the way that food should be, and that was amazing. It really helped to solidify, to know your food, know your farmer, right? And I did that for about 10 years, helping people in my treatment room, learning more about environmental medicine and how to really look at food, right? From the grassroots of the way food should be raised, whether it was animal protein or the plants.
And so you're mainly working as a nutritionist then? Is that like that?
Not like a dietitian, but more in the holistic realm, right? Okay. So, and I just knew that I wanted something different. I wanted something deeper. So that's where I found the Chestnut School of Herbal Medicine with Juliet Blankenspore. And that was my very first introduction into herbal medicine. And oh my gosh, that was 9 years ago. And now like every herbalist, it just becomes an addiction. So that's why I love the Herbalist Hour. I always tell Mason it's my favorite show because I've met so many amazing herbalists, and I've even studied with some of them that I would have never known about if he didn't create that, right? So that's where I got called to it, and then I just haven't stopped. So now everything from folk medicine to Southern folk medicine to medical botany, and studied with Sam Thayer for 4 years, going up and doing wild food education. Cool. And then clinical herbalism. So all of it, it's just, as you know, it's the best kind of addiction. And then to be able to, in my apothecary, I have a wild food bar. So when you walk in, it looks like a cute little coffee and tea shop. And I always tell people, welcome in. We're going to feed you weeds today. What would you like? And before every appointment, they're like, what? You're going to feed me weeds? I'm like, yep. So everything is seasonal. And the way that I practice herbalism is more through food as medicine. right?
Mm-hmm.
Which is where your book. So I use wild remedies when I'm teaching.
Aww.
So, well, I do. That book is the only book that I've been able to find that is so perfect for a beginner because it teaches food, right? So how do you utilize these precious plants as nutrition? How do you use them as medicine, and how to use them topically, right? So whenever I teach at conferences, I carry it with me. I just carry it with me.
Wow.
And I'm like, this is the best book for beginners because you learn several different modalities of ways to use these plants, right? So it's just, I sent an email years ago thanking you guys for writing it because it's just such a help when people want to know where to start. What's the best book? How can I start? And yeah, that was amazing. But that's how I got into it, through working with skin conditions and just not liking the superficial business side of that, and not what actually truly gets to the bottom to help people. And through plant medicine and through understanding soil science. I don't know about you, but I feel like I've learned more about the human body and plants through studying how plants grow and soil science.
Will you say a little bit more about that?
Yeah, when you're studying the soil biology, right? That soil microbiome, and then you look at the microbiome of a human that has the most amazing, they're both ecosystems, right? So they're both ecosystems. And when I get people in the apothecary who have just lived that very standard American way, right? Standard American diet. Food comes from grocery stores or food-like products from fast food, right? And then they have such high stress in their life. They're not sleeping well. They're full of anxiety. They're on 5 to 10 different pharmaceuticals. And something just clicks where they're like, I need to do something different, right? So where do they always show up last? The herbalist, right?
Yep.
And you're like, but it's traditional medicine. Why didn't you start here, And it's just really powerful when you can explain to somebody, especially if they're a gardener, right? I always ask, so do you grow anything? Are you a gardener? Because if they are, then they already understand that if they don't have healthy soil, they're not going to produce healthy plants, right? So when you can get them to think about themselves that way, it's like a light bulb goes off, right? So it's amazing to understand the ecosystem of healthy soil and the ecosystem of the human body and how you can work with that. And then keystone species. I love working with keystone species of bacteria, and you can ferment them. When I was with Emily and Karen at the conference. And
so just so everyone knows, these are team members at Herbs with Rosalee, Karen, Rose.
Yes, and they were so much fun. We were all at this conference, and they needed a ride, and I'm like, hop in my car, and we're just driving around and start geeking out about plants. And I was like, have you girls ever worked with keystone species of bacteria, right? And they're like, what is that? And I'm like, a keystone species is the mother of a probiotic, right? Of a beneficial bacteria within us, right? That is easily killed off with antibiotics, steroids, foods rich in glyphosate, because it's a large antibiotic, right? And when those keystone species are killed off, you have to be able to restore them for others. So let's just take Lactobacillus reuteri, very common. Without that one, it's in control of 50 different mechanisms in the body, but you can ferment those with herbs.
Oh, interesting.
It is. It's very interesting. And it helps with skin conditions and so many mast cell. There's so many different things that you can do when you take these plants and utilize them like you would to build a healthy soil. So that's when you ask me, can you go into that? I'm like, oh girl, are you ready? Because
well, I am curious about what that looks like. Just because
You
like when
know,
you ferment a plant, like I can think of like tea fermentations or a fermentation like a sauerkraut or a vinegar or a kombucha, like there's all these different ways. So when you say fermentation of an herb, like what with a particular species, keystone species, what does that look like?
the same way, right? Like we just went out yesterday digging up Japanese knotweed, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I love to take the knotweed shoots and I love to pickle them and all the fun things, but they're really fun when you can take a strain of Lactobacillus reuteri or Lactobacillus gasseri, or, for the normal average human who doesn't have a lot of high histamine in their body, right? And those two strains, you can use that as your starter to ferment them. See what I mean? And then you're not getting just a normal lactobacillus ferment, you're actually getting a keystone species. But then if you have someone who has a lot of high histamine and mast cell issues, which is rampant anymore with the environment that we live in, at least in the Midwest. I'm not quite sure how it is out where you are, but it's interesting because then you can take a Lactobacillus plantarum strain with with a B. infantis, so a Bifdo infantis, and then you can ferment those with something like Japanese knotweed that's so high in resveratrol and all of those anti-inflammatory antioxidants. Can you even think about anything more powerful as
It sounds
something that
amazing.
works? Exactly. So it's just really breaking down, really nerding out with, instead of doing a normal ferment, which is still a lactobacillus, which is great, right? But instead of doing a normal ferment with our herbs, how you can ferment these amazing medicinal herbs with keystone species of bacteria, which has nothing to do with rabbit tobacco, but 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 you got me in the how do you really restore an inner ecosystem, and that's a way that I've really been geeking out about. And when people come in and they talk about how a lot of their health problems are starting to subside because you're restoring them, you're restoring that inner ecosystem, and it's just a really cool thing to experiment with and to watch and to grow and learn from every person you do it with.
Yeah, it sounds fascinating. I'm glad we took this little tangent because it can see you being lit up by it, and it is not something you hear talked about every day. So thank you for going down
Absolutely.
that lane. Hey there, just a quick note. If you'd like to hear from me in a more personal way, I'd love to have you in my free text community. I send a couple of texts every week, things like behind the scenes updates, herbal thoughts that I'm chewing on, and little sparks of joy I don't always share anywhere else. To join, just text the word root to 1-509-383-8398. And if you ever want to break up, no hard feelings. Just text STOP to the same number and you'll be opted out immediately. My goal is to make it so juicy and so fun that you look forward to getting my texts each week. Okay, now back to the show. And I'd love to hear just a little bit about your apothecary. I know when I first met you at IHS, if I remember correctly, Mason was there and he had told me about you previously because you've done some work with him. And he had told me that you play his podcast, the Herb Rallies Herbalist Hour, in your apothecary, which sounded so cool. But what is your apothecary like? Where is it located? That sort of thing.
So I'm in a suburb of Indianapolis, so Greenwood, Indiana. And I love where I'm located because I'm right off of a major interstate throughout the state of Indiana. And so people who come into my apothecary aren't always necessarily right in the Indianapolis area. I've been very blessed to speak at conferences around the state talking about wild foods and plant medicine. And so I work with so many people from all around the state because I'm right in the center. So it's so easy to get to. And that's such a blessing. I've been in the same space for 9 years. And last year, no, it's been 2 years, I think. Can't remember. I finally, after studying wild foods with Sam Thayer up in Wisconsin every year, I was like, you know what? It's time to open up a wild food bar. And so that has been so amazing. And then just having people come in and asking for just different types of therapies, right? So seasonal wild food therapies. During the winter months, I always teach a broth medicine class and how to incorporate tree barks and leaves and roots and, working with local regenerative farmers where I know that the animals have never been vaccinated and I know that they are 100% pastured. So that way we are able to get organ meats and we're able to get bones and frames. And I teach how to use a variety, and I use rabbit tobacco in these, but how to use a variety of different animal frames, because you get a different collagen from each animal, right? Whether it's marine collagen, even eggshells for vegetarians and vegans, and then you're making pretty much like a decoction, right? So I will add rabbit tobacco into a lot of my winter medicinal broth therapies because you have what I call the enes, right? The glucosamine, the glycines, right? There's like 15 enes. I can't ever remember them all. But then by the time you've added that real collagen, not a powdered stuff, right? So that real collagen therapy with all of the ene therapies, and then all of those different medicinal herbs, and you switch them up every week, that's a therapy for people. It's one of my favorite things to do in the winter. And when someone is battling with any type of mucous membrane infection, whether it's Crohn's disease or, IBS or, respiratory, ear, nose, and throat, all of the things, that's the beauty of rabbit tobacco, because it's one of the most, for me, it is the most magical plant that I've ever seen to help to support mucous membranes throughout the body. Oh. And you can throw that into a broth therapy in the wintertime, right? So now we're going into juice season. So now I'll be doing wild juices all season. Cool. But it's just so awesome to be able to walk into an apothecary and say, what can I get you today? Would you like a tree bark chai? Would you like several different herbal smoothie blends? Would you like a hot cocoa made with raw cacao infused with all different herbs? And everything is foraged, right? So it just brings that awareness to people, because it's set up like a normal coffee shop, but we make herbal infused nut and seed milks, and then put herbs in all of our coffee blends and herbs in we mill our own grains. So we work with ancient grains and sourdough ancient grains, and then are always filling them with different herbs, all the time. So there's always something going on all the time at the apothecary. But to walk in to see your herbalist and to be able to be handed something that is both a food item and a coffee or a tea, or like I said, a tree bark chai or something like that, it gives them, it opens their eyes, it plants a seed, it makes them think differently, right? You mean I can eat this? I can drink this? It's like, yeah, and you should be. So now come on in, and we're going to have a 2-hour appointment, and I'm going to have you eating weeds in like 3 weeks. So
I love this. I want to walk through those doors and get handed a tree bark chai for sure.
Yeah, it's really cute.
Hey, it's Rosalee. Creating this podcast has been one of the most rewarding parts of my herbal work. And if you found something meaningful here, whether it's a new perspective, a favorite recipe, or just a sense of calm, I want to let you know there's a good way to go even deeper. It's called the Podcast Circle. Inside, you'll get access to live classes taught by some of my favorite herbal teachers, behind-the-scenes updates, and a beautiful library of herbal resources that we've gathered over the years. But more than that, it's a space to connect with fellow plant lovers who care about the same things you do. And truly, your membership helps make this podcast possible. It's how we keep the episodes coming and the herbal goodness flowing. So if you're ready to be part of something more, something rooted in connection, head over to herbalpodcastcircle.com. I'd love to see you there. Well, you've already been mentioning our plant for today, so thanks for keeping us on track with that, Karen. And you've chosen rabbit tobacco, which is a plant I'm not super familiar with, so I'm excited to hear from you about it. And I'm always curious, why did you choose this particular plant?
So 9 years ago, I was foraging in southern Indiana. In the early spring, it was May 28th. I'll never forget the day. And I was so ignorant. I just didn't know yet that was prime deer tick season. And so I had stepped into a deer tick nest and I was covered in them. And the thought even crossed my mind. I was like, I'm from Southern Indiana. My mom picked ticks off of me all the time as a kid. I've had so many tick bites. I've always been fine. Well, I wasn't this time. So my symptoms showed up 2 months later, and I ended up with chronic Lyme. And for about 4 years, I battled chronic joint pain, flu-like symptoms, fevers, the whole scare of what is wrong with me? Why do I feel like I'm literally dying? I have some rare, odd disease, and I knew what it was. I knew the minute that it started because I had already taken so many courses on Lyme disease through herbalism. And I was like, here we go. I've got it. And I called a friend of mine who's an integrative medical specialist. And I said, hey, I was bit by over 30 deer tick and my immune system went down just a smidge, like a summer cold, right? And boom, it got me. And he was like, oh, you absolutely have it. And he said, I don't want you to do anything. Don't do doxy. Don't do anything. It's already too embedded in your system and we don't want to weaken you. And I said, well, that's good because I wasn't going to do that anyway. Right. So wild foods is what really put me into remission. And that's why I'm so passionate about it. Right. But it's been 3 years ago now, I started to develop reactive airways. So when the temperatures would drop in Indiana and we would start to get colder weather, I would develop this like annoying little cough. Not a big deal, but I was like, what is going on? And some respiratory therapist clients of mine were like, oh yeah, you're starting to get reactive airways when the weather drops. That's a form of asthma. And I was like, what? I've never had asthma in my life. Well, it got me. I started having severe acute asthma attacks. And they were so severe that I just knew that I wasn't going to make it. I was like, I'm going to die this way. This is so bad. And my poor husband, like poor Brian, we're learning how to navigate this together. I called my integrative doctor friend and I was like, look, I don't have a doctor. I'm having asthma attacks and I have to speak at a conference in front of 1,000 people in 4 days. I don't know what to do. And this is where I welcomed the Western medicine, right? He's like, you're not going to like this, but I'm putting you on prednisone and I'm putting you on an inhaler. And I was like, bring it on. When your symptoms are that bad, that's when you need Western medicine and you need that heroic medicine, right, to save you. So I got through it. I had a great pulmonologist who knew exactly what I did. He knew it. And he said, well, Karen, I'm supposed to tell you that, we knew that the Lyme had caused it, right? We were able to use some labs to see such high infection in my body that was causing it. And we knew exactly what it was. But he was like, I'm supposed to tell you that you're going to have to stay on these medications for probably the rest of your life. And I was like, well, that's not going to happen. It's just, I'm not going to do this because they suppress your immune system and people don't heal this way. And I had already heard about rabbit tobacco through Phyllis Light and through Matthew Wood, right? It was in some classes that I took with them. And so I went back through a lot of my notes and I was like, rabbit tobacco, I need to learn more about this plant. And so through studying through Phyllis, which is one of my favorite herbalists, I love Phyllis Light, through learning about rabbit tobacco through her and then studying folk medicine with Robert Pattinson, that was amazing to be able to learn more of what is going on with that plant. And so I was like, I have to find it because it doesn't grow I have found it twice in the state of Indiana. Wow. And it was, when I found it, it was like that magical moment, right? Where you're like, you've got to be kidding me. I can't believe you're right in front of me. And it was like one patch of it. So it wanted me to find it. It was just one patch right there. And it was like the plant was just saying, I'm here. You're going to be okay. So I had called down to Alabama to an herbalist and had it sent to me. And I started nebulizing it. I started making herbal teas out of it, started putting it in my food and my broths, right? And I would nebulize, I'm not kidding, like five times an hour. I would walk around with that nebulizer on because I was like, I'm going to heal my lungs with this plant. Because the amazing chemistry, when I was doing a lot of research on this plant, the University of Kentucky Med School, they were using that plant to help people with COVID lung, right? Because it goes into, when you're nebulizing it and you're doing that topical treatment with it, they were showing where people who had COVID had nicks in the epithelial tissue of their lungs. And they used rabbit tobacco to seal and heal because it thickens thinning tissues. Now, how beautiful is that? Yeah. So at my apothecary, we do breathing treatments all the time. And the base of I switch them up. I gave Emily a formula, but I switch them up all the time based on what each person needs, right? So, the typical dry cough, wet cough, or you have airway constriction, all the things. And then that way, when they come in, the base is always going to be rabbit tobacco, but then I will specialize by customizing what they need based on what's going on inside their lungs, right? Mm-hmm. But I also use it in vaginal suppositories. It's wonderful because it helps to thicken those thinning tissues. It's great topically. It's a natural anodyne, so it has some pain relieving. I love it for psoriasis, eczema, acne, right? Any type of inflammation on the skin. It actually has some very not quite sedative, but as a tea, it's very relaxing. When it's more of a cold to room temperature extraction, it has more of those very relaxing, like a cup of lavender and chamomile, right? And same with the tincture. You can add it to sleep blends in a tincture. But then if you make a hot tea or a hot decoction out of it, it's a diaphoretic. So it's just a plant with so many sides to it, right? And it's literally like what can't you do with rabbit tobacco?
I'm getting that. Yeah.
Exactly. And I don't know if it would grow where you are. When we were in South Carolina and I was foraging last October, and I was so excited because it was all along the beaches. It loves sandy soil. It loves to be where, like plantain, where the soil is just so distressed and so trampled, and it doesn't ever want to be in a prepared garden bed. It doesn't like that. It loves big, wide open fields, full sun, and it loves to be dry. So it's just the plant that literally saved my life. So I try to tell everybody about it. Everybody needs rabbit tobacco.
That was a very
it's amazing. And here in Indiana,
this is why I chose this plant.
This is why what? Oh, why I chose the plant?
This is a very compelling reason why you chose this plant.
Yes, absolutely. And here in Indiana, I'm trying to get everybody to grow it. I'm like, come on, man, everybody, let's grow this plant, because that way, who doesn't need it? Who doesn't get pneumonia or bronchitis or asthma or have any type of mucous membrane infection? There's so much that you can do. It's great in sore throat formulas. You can use it as an eye soak. What can't you do with rabbit tobacco?
And it is a native plant. Is it at risk at all? I don't even know.
No. Nope, not at all. You'll find fields of it in the South, like everywhere. No, if it were at risk, I'd be freaking out. No.
Well, I like that you're ambitious about growing it. I mean, you said it would be hard to grow it, like these certain conditions kind of being neglected a bit, the open, the sand. But yeah, with some perseverance, you can recreate those conditions and get it happening.
You sure can. It loves heat. So it loves that dry, arid heat. So, but yeah, I think everybody should try to grow it. I do. I try to grow everything. I'm like, how can I figure this out? Who cares if it's not in my zone? I might be able to make this happen.
I'm the same way. I will try pretty much everything at least once or twice.
Mm-hmm.
So let's talk. You've mentioned your recipe that you've shared with us, the respiratory support. It's a nebulizing recipe. So let's talk about that and just like how you go about making this and what it's like. And, you know, people might not be familiar with this type of preparation.
Nebulizing.
Mm-hmm.
So at the apothecary, when people call in and they are trying to schedule, they will schedule a breathing treatment. I always ask, do you have a nebulizer at home? Right. And if they have chronic conditions, I always say, look, grab a $40 nebulizer. It doesn't have to be expensive. And I will make you breathing treatments. And that way you can do them at home. So basically, it's so simple. You're making a decoction out of the plant. Okay, so I take just the rabbit tobacco and I make a decoction out of that plant. Mm-hmm. And then let's say I have somebody with bronchitis. Okay, so if you have bronchitis, you could add in mullein, right? So you could add in mullein. If it's wet and like lots of congestion in there, you can add in sage, right? Mm-hmm. Add in more of those astringent plants. I love okra. I love okra instead of always just using like marshmallow, or here we have sassafras, and these are just so demulcent, but being able to add more of that demulcent chemistry if you're trying to moisten something up, right? So rabbit tobacco is always the base, but then you add these other plants in based on the constitution as to what the conditions you're working with. But then I will take my extracts, right? So like my isatis, so my Chinese woad, I will add that in there. And it's just, you're just working with drops. If I feel like we have a lot of bacteria in there and we need to move that lymph, you can add poke root, right? Mm-hmm. Add some poke extract in there. I love to work with chameleon plant, hortata. I love to work with chameleon plant if there is some mast cell, like a lot of high histamine that's creating something. Lobelia, always. If there's bronchial dilation, love lobelia. So for me, I was nebulizing a blend of wild cherry bark extract, lobelia, and rabbit tobacco. And that's how I was able to heal myself from having to use medical inhalers. So it's just, you can use grandelia, like you could use so many amazing plants based on what you need, right? Mm-hmm. To add that in. But I always make it isotonic. So meaning I always add a neti salt to it also to be more conditioning to those mucous membranes. That way it's not so harsh when you're breathing it in.
Right. And what about preservation of this? Because I know with nebulizing, it's very important to have a sterile, you're breathing in something sterile. So how long, like you make this preparation, how long would you use it before
3 days.
you needing a fresh? 3 days.
3 days.
Wow, that long, huh?
And I make them keep it refrigerated. Like 3 days. So I use a reverse osmosis water, and then I add in my neti salt. And then that way, when you're using reverse osmosis, there's no minerals in there. So the water is able to absorb more minerals from the plants. And so I always use that. I always tell everybody, if you're going to make this yourself, please don't use tap water. Let's not do that. But I put it in I make them where they have a little bottle that's probably maybe 2 ounces, and they're able to use that over and over and over again. And I always tell them, look, you're the delivery system. The more you are able to get these herbs down into your tissues, the better that they will work.
Yeah, I love the frequency on that, because that's often when we're dealing with these issues that really need a lot of attention. It's not a one-time you're done situation. So thanks for bringing that into the picture as well.
Absolutely. Well, in nasal rinses, I make a lot of nasal rinses with rabbit tobacco. So in like the little atomizer sprays to get up in that topical and those sinus cavities. And same thing. It's like, look, if you have a sinus infection or you have allergies right now, you've got to, you don't just use this once a day. This isn't like Afrin. Okay. You need to use this. Let's get 5 times an hour in there, so we can start really getting that medicine up into those sinus cavities and absorbing through those mucous membranes. It's just topical treatments are just so important.
Yeah, they absolutely are. Well, you have shared so much about rabbit tobacco. You shared this wonderful recipe, which people can download by looking at the show notes or going to RosaleePodcast.com. You get all the information in there, directions, everything. So definitely check that out. And do you have, I feel like you've covered so much, but is there anything else you'd like to share about rabbit tobacco?
Oh my gosh. If you have, it's great for menopausal women, right?
Oh,
Because people always want, you know how it is when people aren't necessarily in our world, but they're curious, right? What herb can you give me for this? Or, you know, the whole bioidentical and hormone therapy stuff has become crazy. And I'm always trying to tell people, listen, it's not just what you put on your face, or it's not, you've got to understand that your tissues are thinning from the inside, and they're supposed to, because we are aging. This is very normal. Our tissues are thinning. So when you're able to use a plant like that internally and you're drinking it as a tea, you're adding it to juices and smoothies and broths, you're helping to thicken those tissues in the body, right? It's amazing. And topically, you can pair it with comfrey. You can pair it with all these amazing plants that help to produce that cellular turnover and help to thicken that epithelial tissue, right? And so I guess I would love for everybody to learn about the plant that saved my life. And if it doesn't grow in your area, try to grow it anyway. Who knows? What's the worst that's going to happen? It doesn't work, And then you can always, just like anything, you can always find an herbalist that can wildcraft this amazing plant for you in the southern states where it is prolific. It's all through Tennessee. It's all through, I've not found it in Kentucky, but I'm sure it's there. But it's all over Alabama. It's all through South Carolina, the Carolinas. It's just everywhere.
I guess we could talk about that a bit, Karen. How do you like to harvest it? Like at what stage? And do you have any like harvesting tips or drying tips?
It's best to harvest that plant at the end of the summer season when it looks like it's getting ready. It's gone to flower and you think that it looks like it's going to die. But that's the nickname of the plant, right, is rabbit tobacco, but it's also called life everlasting or pearly everlasting. And they call it that because it's still just as vibrant looking in the dead of winter, So almost like you walk outside and a conifer tree still looks the same as it did in July, So it's highest in its volatile, in its essential oils and its chemistry in the late summer when after it's gone to seed and gone to flower. That's the best time to cut it. You can harvest it earlier and bring it in and tie it up and let it dry. You can do that. It's medicinal all the time, but it's highest at the end of a summer season.
And is it a strong aromatic then? You said it's high in essential oil.
Not really. No. I think it smells like maple syrup. A lot of people say that to me. When they're nebulizing, they're like, oh, this smells like maple syrup. I'm like, yep, that's the rabbit tobacco. And once you know the smell, you just know it. You know the smell. The flavor is, it's interesting. It has a bitterness, but not like a gentian, I like the flavor of rabbit tobacco. If what I think it tastes the most is if you make a mugwort tea. It has a similar flavor as mugwort with a hint of the aromatics, a hint of maple syrup.
Interesting.
It doesn't taste like maple syrup.
Yeah.
But it smells like maple syrup.
All right. Good to know. Good to know. So, I mean, it seems like you work with it in so many different ways, in the nebulizer, as a tea, as a topical. Have you mentioned it as a tincture?
Yeah, you can. You can tincture it. Yep. It's not my favorite. I'm not a big tincture person anyway. Tinctures aren't necessarily my favorite. I like, if I'm going to tincture anything, I'm going to do multifractional, right? So I love doing multifractional tinctures. And then that way I feel really good about that plant medicine because I know I've used so many different solvents to pull different chemistries out. But with, if I,
more, Karen, because there'll be people who are going to ask, what is she talking about?
Have I what?
Will you describe that more? Because there's going to be people who want to know. I can already hear
Oh,
it.
multifractional?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's amazing. Sam Kaufman is one of the most amazing teachers about that, you know. But multifractional is where you look at the chemistry of the plant and then you look at what solvent should you use at different times, different temperatures. So, well, let's take lobelia, right? Most herbalists have done a lobelia tincture. And with lobelia, you always want to use half of an alcohol and half apple cider vinegar, right? That is a form of a multifractional tincture, right? So at the apothecary, I love to use different solvents at different times. You know, like with marshmallow, if you're going to tincture demulcent plants, you have to do a cold water extract first, right? And then because they're not alcohol soluble, you're basically using the alcohol to stabilize it, you know, just for shelf stability. But learning the different, so multifractional is learning the different chemistries of your plants and then learning what you can use as a solvent to be able to pull out all those different chemistries of your plants, right? Like using red wine to pull polyphenols, right? You know, if you're using a tannin, a very tannic-rich plant, then you're going to, with a plant that's full of polyphenols, you're going to pull those polyphenols out better than you would ever use using a vodka, right? So did that answer it? There's so many.
So how would that translate to the topic at hand with the rabbit tobacco?
With the rabbit tobacco? So yeah, so tincturing rabbit tobacco, I like to do it more like a lobelia tincture, right? So use I don't use like you're not going to want to use like a 150 proof, right? I'll just use a regular vodka and mix it with an apple cider vinegar, right? So then you're using acetic acid with alcohol and you're pulling that together. And then I have a rotary evaporator. So then you can take all of those different tinctures and run them through in a rotary evaporator. And then you get this highly concentrated plant medicine that you can use both topically and internally. And then, you know, like with rabbit tobacco, you can take that, you could do like that multifractional extract and be able to pull that out, powder it through a rotary evaporator because you're evaporating off the menstruums, right? So, and then you're left with a highly concentrated plant medicine. So it's awesome. If people don't ever use multifractional ways of extracting and tincturing, you should. It's beautiful. And then you just those are the kind of tinctures that I like. So I always look at, okay, how are these extracted, right? And I'm like, darn it. I'm missing so many of the minerals, or I'm missing the polyphenols, or I'm missing all of this stuff. So yeah, I geek out about it.
Yeah, thanks for that description. I love the making it go through the evaporator too, just that concentrated, because that's what I often don't like about tinctures. They say, you know, that tinctures are concentrated medicine, and sometimes they are depending on the herb you're working with, but reality is you can often get a much higher dosage with a tea than you can with a tincture.
Yep.
It might not be as fun, but you know, taste wise or whatever, or convenient wise, but yeah, so I like that. I'm definitely one of the higher dosages advocates when appropriate, of course. Well, thank you so much for sharing so much about rabbit tobacco. I can see why you love this plant on so many different levels. And now I'd love to hear, we've already heard a bit about your apothecary. I'd love to hear more. I'd love to hear what projects you have going on right now. Yeah, let's dive into all of that.
Oh, there's so much. It's amazing. I'm actually in the process of looking to move my apothecary, not because I don't love the building I'm in. I love the building I'm in. I love the owners of the building. They're like family. There's a part of me that's like, I just want to stay with them forever. And then the other part's like, okay, because I own and I have 4 people who work with me. But my husband and I started Indie Holistic Living 5 years ago, and it has grown into over 20,000 people throughout the state of Indiana. And that is almost like a second, like part-time job, right? So we host events, we work with local farmers, herbalists all through the state, anybody, practitioners, like all the things. Where can I get raw goat milk in Johnson County, right? So it's a community that brings people together, that creates a circular economy, right? And that has been one of the biggest things that we do within the state of Indiana. And it's just this ongoing, growing practice. Like it's just it's phenomenal to see a whole state of communities and an entire state come together and support and inspire each other. That has been that's life-changing. And being able to help support people throughout the state of Indiana through the apothecary has been awesome. But that's why I need a bigger space, right? So I need a place where I can have the teaching gardens. Inside of my apothecary, I have a naturopathic medical doctor. She's a licensed naturopathic medical doctor. I have an integrative nurse practitioner. We have a cranial sacral therapist who specializes in flower essences and stone medicine. So, and then I have an acupuncturist who wants to be there, and a medical doctor who wants to study, who wants to be integrative. And when you're able to help other people find that level of inspiration, and that's what we've done with India Holistic Living and the apothecary, it's just spreading this ripple effect, right? So we definitely need a bigger space, and I really want a full-size teaching kitchen because I love to teach wild foods. I love to teach that. And that's like all happening like right now. So all those things are going on right now. So it's a good thing that I have a lot of energy.
I was just thinking that actually.
I do, but my husband, Brian, he knows Mason. Brian loves this life too. And so we do all of this stuff together, and it's just constantly growing. And how can we just keep that momentum of keeping that together? We had a really bad, in the state of Indiana, we had some of the worst cases of flu, influenza A and B, that we had ever seen. And I was like, okay, we got to do something within these communities where everybody can get out and start helping each other, right? So I was like, Brian, come on, let's go over here to this local park. And I was showing people different conifer trees. And this was like January. So I was like, look, this is a Scotch pine. This is a white pine. This is a cedar, blah, 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 blah. So I was like, this is what you can do. I love to tap trees I call it untapped medicine. If you've never gotten into drinking tapped tree water for medicine, it's like life-changing. So we had just tapped a bunch of trees. I'm blending them with all these conifers, putting some elderberry juice, right? Not heated, fresh elderberry juice in there, ginger, turmeric, adding all this stuff in there, some dates for some sweetness, and shoving it in a Vitamix, going, okay, everybody can do this, right? If you have conifer trees in your yard, in a nearby park, anywhere where you're at, please start making these. We're going to call them medicine bombs, right? And so Rosalee, the whole state in all these different counties started making medicine bombs and passing them out to their community members who were sick with this flu. And if every state could have their own holistic living community, right, where that amount, over 20,000 people can come together and help each other. Can you imagine? Can you just imagine how it creates such a culture shift? That's it. It creates a culture shift of love and true kindness to be able to support each other like that.
Yeah, what a beautiful thing. And then, the building of community is just so powerful, and just to do it in such real ways that's, spreading and building. I can see why you're so enthusiastic about it. And thank goodness you're someone with so much energy to be spearheading something like this.
Yeah, it's just, I think at least for me, I get energized when people call us or send us messages and say, thank you for what you did, or thank you for helping me, or thank you for this. And I think we live in a very narcissistic culture, right? And, we have social media and we have AI, and we don't know what's real. There's so much division. And I always tell people, turn it all off, get rid of it, right? We have so much beauty and integrity and true love and kindness in our own communities. And that's what we should be focusing on. If we do that, then we create it. We create the culture we want to live in by letting go of all of that.
I love that, Karen.
It's happening.
Right there. Yeah. Wow, what a wonderful model. I'm so glad that you're here to tell us about it. And I have no doubt people are going to want to hear about it more, whether they live in Indiana or nearby, or they're thinking, yeah, let's do this in my state. Where
Yes.
can they best find you?
Oh gosh. I'm terrible on Facebook. I'm horrible with emails, but I have my website, which I think I gave it to Emily, but it's Materia Medica Restorative Herbalism Center. I'm very active on that. And then Indie Holistic Living, indieholisticliving.com. And then through Materia Medica Restorative Herbalism Instagram. I'm very active on Instagram.
Okay, great. Yeah, we'll get all those links in the show notes as well, but folks know she's out there. Go find her. Well, before you go, Karen, I have one last question for you, and that's what do you think herbs are especially good at teaching us humans right now?
I think that they are good. Well, they're not even good. I think they are teaching us how to literally rewild ourselves. When we live in a world that can help to create so much disease, right? And then when you really truly learn how these plants restore you, look at how they restore the earth. You know, you can walk into a field that has been obliterated, right? It's been ripped up, it's had GMO chemicals all over it, there's been construction, all the things. And you go back a year later, what do you see? Clover, huge nitrogen fixer. When you think about what these weeds, right? You see clover, dandelions, different grasses, plantain. You've got all these poke. Poke is always popping up in disturbed soils, right? When you see these amazing plants and what they are doing to restore that living soil, they do the same thing in us. And if we can just get people to understand that those plants are there to restore us. They're not a drug. They're not going to treat disease. They're restorative. So that's my biggest thing. That's why I call it the Restorative Herbalism Center, right? Is that's what they do. And that's the biggest message. That's the biggest takeaway. Don't look at these herbs as take this for that. They don't work that way. They're never going to work that way, right? How do I eat dandelion leaves every day for 2 weeks, right? And then see how I feel and see if I'm still retaining water and if I'm swollen, right? You know, just learning how to work with nature and let it restore you. That's it.
Oh, it's so beautiful, Karen. I love that sentiment. So beautifully explained. And this whole time with you has just been very enlivening. You just have, again, so much energy, so much enthusiasm, doing such really amazing projects too that I just find to be super inspiring. So thank you for sharing about it all. I have a new appreciation for rabbit tobacco too. So I appreciate that as well. Thank you so much for your time and just for sharing your obvious love and your own kindness and generosity with us as well.
Well, thank you for having me on. This has been so fun.
Yay.
To be somebody who's never known you, and I got to meet you once, but someone who's always said, here, this is Rosalee and you need her books.
You are so kind. Thank you, Karen. Yeah, it's been truly just so much fun to get to know you and just really appreciated it. So thank you very much.
Awesome. Anytime. Thank you.
Thank you so much for listening. You can download your illustrated recipe card from today's episode. Just head over to herbswithrosaleepodcast.com or check out the show notes for a link. If you're not already subscribed in one way or another, I'd love to have you as part of this herbal community so I can deliver even more herbal goodies your way. This podcast is made possible in part by our fabulous, incredible, amazing, awesome herbal students. This week's student spotlight is on Laura Calais in Alaska. Well, Laura lives surrounded by the boreal forest where she wild forages, gardens, and continues to deepen her relationship with the plants around her. With roots in the Sonoran Desert and many years in Alaska, her connection to place is both meaningful and a big part of her herbal journey. She's been exploring herbs like yarrow, growing right outside her door, and ashwagandha, which she's incorporated into her daily routine. And her reflections are really thoughtful and intuitive, showing how herbalism can grow from both lived experience and a willingness to trust what we already know. To honor her contributions, Mountain Rose Herbs sending Laura a $50 gift certificate to stock up on their incredible selection of organically and sustainably sourced herbal supplies. Thank you so much, Mountain Rose Herbs, for supporting our amazing students. And if you'd like to deepen your skills as an herbalist, you can check out my foundational courses at herbswithrosalee.com. Okay, you've made it to the end of the show, which means you get a gold star and this herbal tidbit. Well, for your herbal tidbit, I wanted to share something about rabbit tobacco that I recently learned. So rabbit tobacco is what ecologists sometimes call a disturbance species. It's one of the plants that often shows up after fire or in places where the land has been disrupted. It really thrives in these open, exposed, depleted, and sandy soils. And I think that's pretty fascinating when we think about how it's been used traditionally, because rabbit tobacco is often turned to when the lungs are irritated, inflamed, or recovering after an illness, after long bouts of coughing, after the system's really been through something. All right, I'm really excited to hear from you on this one. Do you work with rabbit tobacco? I would love to hear your stories in the comments on YouTube. And have you never heard of rabbit tobacco? Is it something you're interested in learning about more? Tell me everything. As always, thank you so much for being here. I'll see you in the next episode.